Welcome to School Days, help for moms and dads of school-aged kids. I'm Danita Bailey.
And I'm David Bailey.
Today our show is about bullying. An estimated 160,000 U.S. children miss school every day because of fear of attack or intimidation by other students. And did you know that 75% of school shootings have been linked to bullying? Bullying has evolved over the years. It's a lot different now because of all the evolution in tech. Um, and so now children aren't just subjected to it on the playground and between classes, but it follows them home through cell phones and social media. And 35% of kids have been threatened online.
Yeah, I know this is a very sensitive topic, and I know that this has impacted a lot of people over the years. I know, I've been impacted by it when I was young, and so I'm excited to come alongside our families today and just really dig in and help to work through this. I know this is an issue across many different, all over the country. So we're really excited to get into this today.
Yeah, and actually, we already have a caller. We're going to answer this and then put her on hold just a little bit. Hi, caller. Can you give us just a second? We are just finishing up the intro and we'll get right to you. So before we go any further, we want to say it does take a village. If you hear a great parenting tip or nugget of advice, share that with your parent friends. Facebook it, Instagram it, tweet it, link it in, and when you do that, add the hashtag School Days Show and hashtag I am School Days. And also, we want you to be a part of the show. So if you have any questions or comments, give us a call at 214 431 5062.
All right, so let's get right into it. And caller will be right with you in just a second. I'd like to introduce Amy Friend. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and she received her bachelor's in psychology and master's in social work from the University of Texas at Arlington. She's a certified special education teacher, and she has been a behavior teacher in Grand Prairie ISD. She has provided therapeutic services for over 15 years in schools, psychiatric hospitals, private homes, juvenile justice system. I'm having some issues here today, and intensive outpatient programs and practices with all ages and needs. Amy enjoys helping people grow into their full potential. She believes the individual has within them the ability to live their best life, but often needs someone to coach them through the obstacles. She considers it an honor to counsel, and it is a privilege that she does not take lightly. So, Amy, we are so glad you're here today. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And we also today have Samiyyah Middleton. And Samiyyah is a native of Fort Worth, Texas. She graduated from Dunbar High School for the School of Engineering in 1998. She received her Bachelor's of Arts in Corporate Communications from the University of Houston, whoop whoop, in 2003, and received a Master's of Education degree in the School of Counseling in 2009. Miss Middleton has been an educator for 17 years, 7 as a teacher and 10 as a school counselor. Her passion is to assist children to becoming empathetic, well-educated, well-rounded adults and help educate parents on how to raise children in this technology-driven age. So thank you so much for joining us, Samiyyah. And we're actually going to go to our caller. I hope our caller is still there. Caller? I don't think so. We took too long. All right, we'll call back if you have the opportunity. So let's jump right in. I'd like for one of you guys to define bullying. I feel like this is a word that's kind of thrown around a lot. I know that my kids misuse it quite a bit. Like my daughter came home and said that somebody said she didn't like her hair, the way she had it, and she called that bullying. So define bullying for us.
There's so many definitions out there, but I think the main thing for bullying that jumps out to me is that it's an imbalance of power that someone puts on another person, and then also it's repetitive. And it's hard to talk about the definition of bullying because I think we are having an issue with a lot of just being mean, name calling, teasing. And what happens is, as it goes over time, then it develops into bullying. So I think that, to me, what jumps out with bullying is that that person has an imbalance of power. They have something over that person, and then also it's on a repetitive level. It's not just happening one time someone hurts your feelings. It's like on a whole nother level.
Right.
I think, too, it has a lot to do with the effect it has on the person being bullied. Some kids just have thicker skin and they have personalities where they just kind of banter back and forth. But I think you really have to look at the way it's affecting the people that you're around. And so kids that are bullied typically, for some adults, it may not seem like bullying, but the impact it's having on them is very much bullying. And the impact I'm talking about is, very low self-esteem, fear is really big. Anxiety, high anxiety, it's affecting their ability to function.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And how common is it?
Very.
Very common. I mean, I get reports every day, but when you say common, I mean, when you're talking about a true bullying situation, I'm very thankful that I'm in the school district that I'm in, because we do have a system set up where it is a actual step process to someone when they report that and it's truly happening, and it's affecting them socially, emotionally, then we have a process to actually investigate that. But I think there's a bigger problem than just bullying. It's like there are kids that are growing up that are having these anxiety issues, that are having these self-confidence issues, and it's causing a lot of the students that don't have those issues are becoming overbearing, and they are saying and doing things that are not appropriate. So it's kind of the thing that I'm working on at school as a counselor. My job is to be proactive in that and to recognize that within the classrooms and try to, voice what it is truly, put it out there, and then we talk about those things and role play and stuff like that. But being assertive is a huge thing. I think that's one of the things that I like to practice when I do counseling with my students. For those that are having low self-esteem issues, is trying to help them become more assertive, voice what they feel, like how they feel to that person that is doing the wrong things to them. Because sometimes they just walk away and they carry that, with them.
Right. I think the culture plays a lot into it. The culture at school, the different environments the kids are in. If you have, like you just pointed out, if you have staff and teachers and counselors that are on top of it and it is not tolerated, then you see a lot less bullying. But it really has a lot to do with kind of the culture of the environment that the child is in. And that goes for home, that goes for school. It can also go into extracurricular activities and friend groups. But it really is about what is tolerated. If kids think that they can get away with it, they will.
Speaking of friend groups, can a friend be a bully?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I think that happens more often than not, because it's a person that you thought you could trust that is constantly either using you for some reason or just actually treating you wrong, and you don't realize that's not really a friend. You thought that was a friend, but that's not really a friend.
Tends to happen more with girls. There's the girl drama we all hear about.
Mean girls.
Right. It does happen. It tends to happen more with girls, but there's a lot of that online as well. So the social media has really opened the door to kind of the friend bullying. People will be friends, but they will bully each other online. Social media, it's more anonymous, and so, it's not a face-to-face thing. But then there's also different friend groups that can kind of evolve into hierarchy. And so you have some that really will kind of bully, but they're kind of the leaders. Think of Mean Girls. Mean Girls is a great example. And then maybe there's some that follow along with that. There's a lot of good kids out there that are bullying because of the influence and the fact, like I said, that it's in the culture and it's tolerated, and they don't want to get bullied. And
That's
so
true.
sometimes they think, well, if I can join in, even though normally they wouldn't,
Right.
they feel like they're saving themselves from being bullied.
Yes, it's got that crowd herd effect
Yeah.
Yes.
where you don't want to be the one left out or the one that ends up being teased, so you just kind of
Right.
join in
Right.
with whatever else everybody else is doing. But privately, the two of you could be friends and would be friends.
Right.
So, what can you give some examples of some of the reasons that kids get bullied? What are the things that kids or the stories you've heard personally at school and in your sessions? I mean, not names, of course, but
Right.
but just what are the examples of reasons why kids are truly? But we're looking at our definition here. Like, what are some examples of why they're getting bullied?
Who's most at risk?
I think the ones that are most at risk are the ones that have those true self-esteem issues, and they also have a long-term, and I hate to say this, but a victim type mentality. In the schools, I hear, oh, my child has been bullied since second grade. It's been going on since second grade, and it's going on again. And it's different students that are bullying their child. And so I often think about, okay, what is going on? Not to say that it's right for what was happening to that student at all. What I'm saying is, what is going on with your child that is causing them to be so affected by the things that are happening? And so I like to try to dig deep with those students to figure out how can I get them to be more assertive, to voice their concerns quicker to the correct people, give them options on how to handle those things before it becomes a bigger problem, because sometimes it starts very, very small. Another issue is cyberbullying, and that's becoming a huge issue. And I think it starts off a friend kind of thing. They get in chat rooms, and I'm sorry, but there are hidden chat rooms in all these friendly apps, my own daughter included. I've had to monitor her phone usage to make sure that she is doing the right thing with her phones, because the apps start off very friendly, like Musically, but then there's these chat rooms where they're chatting with each other, and then all of a sudden it's a huge ordeal going on at home, and then it comes to school. Because, of course, if things are happening at home, you're going to be affected, and then all of a sudden everyone at school knows about it. So it's kind of like investigating what started, who did what, and then getting the parents involved and making them aware of what's going on. Because a lot of times parents have no idea. I've even had a parent say, should I have my child's password to their cell phone? And I'm like, yeah, I think you should. So
Absolutely.
it's really just a lot of awareness to parents about what's going on at home and how it's affecting school.
Right,
And what we can actually do about it at school. Because sometimes, there are privacy issues there. Like, I can't tell a parent exactly specific names and, how to contact the family and things like that.
That's what we want to know.
That's what you want to know.
Hurt my baby.
Then, if it's on the other end, would you want someone to know your information? So it's kind of like if your child was doing it, some parents don't want their kids to know that either, and there are laws there, to where we have to, keep that private.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a difficult thing to navigate through as well, because we oftentimes have to say, if I'm correcting this situation, you may not know exactly what I've done or what has happened, and you just assume nothing happened, and that's the kind of conversation we've had a lot too. So
Yeah.
I think going back to the kids that are most vulnerable, I think a lot of it too has to do with families.
Oh, yes.
Kids that don't have good relationships with their families. Kids are very vulnerable to bullying if they're bullied at home. Siblings, some family members in the home that aren't very nice. So if a kid feels like they have no control and they feel attacked and they have low self-esteem, like what was said, then they are more vulnerable, not just to be bullied, but to be a bully. And then the other factor is differences. There just isn't a lot of tolerance for difference. And so there's the kid that's really quiet, that, doesn't fit with the stereotypical, child his or her age, and they're a target. And so I think tolerating differences is big, and that all this starts in the family. If we're really being honest, it starts with a kid that has a healthy relationship with their family, their parents in particular, is really going to have a huge defense against being a bully, but also being bullied.
Right.
That's where that confidence comes in. But if they don't have that, you get a lot of kids that are struggling with anxiety, with depression, in my counseling office that I see. Mental illness is very stigmatized. Kids that are mentally ill have a really hard time interpreting social cues correctly. And there are a lot of kids that have mental illness that feel bullied, that feel attacked. And honestly, that's not what's happening. But they're interpreting. They have an idea in their head that nobody likes me, everybody's against me, and so any kind of disagreement can be considered bullying to them.
Right.
And so but if I had to say in a nutshell what it is, it's basically difference. The kid that doesn't fit with everybody else. Kids are very insecure anyway. I mean, we're trying to figure out at that age, you're trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do, and what's normal. Everybody wants to be normal. But the truth is, because of those insecurities, differences are just not tolerated very well when kids are young, because they're very threatening. Everybody's trying to be normal or average. And so that really puts people in a position of vulnerability.
Right.
That's so true.
And I would imagine kids with special needs like autism and different...
Right. The beauty about those kids, it's so interesting. A lot of times they don't recognize
it
that
at
they're
all.
being bullied.
Right.
So they think
it's like
that,
Teflon.
Yeah, they just don't see
myself.
it. They think they're laughing with them, not at them.
That's
So
true.
you see a lot of that. Typically, kids with autism tend to just be overly annoyed with the kids around them,
That's
and
true.
it's the noise factor, and it's more annoying behavior. But you don't typically hear them coming in and complaining about bullying, although that does happen. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't, but
Right.
but you would think that group would really be targeted. But most of the time, it's almost the opposite. The autistic kid really has a problem, and they're not afraid to voice it.
Oh yeah.
No filter, yeah.
No filter.
Yeah.
And so you see some of that as well.
You know, I think about different, just scenarios I've seen, body shaming,
Oh yes.
race, if you don't come from the same socioeconomic background as somebody else, and maybe, the clothes that someone's wearing, academically, I remember when I was in the classroom, if a kid got an answer wrong, and the kids were like, how could, I mean, I don't think there was any intent there per se, but like, how could you get that wrong, And a kid feels bad, and there's just a lot of different avenues through which it can impact the child's psyche, which can impact their perception of things. Sometimes I did see times when kids were being really messed with, and I had to intervene there. But there's just a lot of different factors that go into the psychological aspects of how it's impacting kids.
Right. I think that's why it's important, like you said, it's the family. It starts at home, and I think in this day and age, it's really hard to, you can't control that, of course, from school. That's not something that's in your control. So you hope that they come from a healthy environment. But what I'm seeing more and more is that students, they're not raised by their parents. They're raised by grandparents, aunts, cousins, someone that can be able to take care of them. And they do have some examples, or maybe they're just trying to get by and they don't have the time to really go in depth with those issues. And so that's why my job and teachers' jobs are so important, because sometimes that's the only place they can find someone that talks about those things and give them some type of value to it. And unfortunately, in this day and age, with the rhetoric that's going on, we talk about race and differences. It's really a problem. I'm in 5th and 6th grade, and I'm hearing things that I've not heard before when it comes to like some of the racial things that are coming up. And even with my own child, because she is raised in a healthier home, I'm able to talk to her about those things, like her hair, like someone, and a lot of it is just observation, but that student could take an observation as someone bullying them.
Right.
Or someone is saying something to be mean and not realize, okay, this person is actually bullying me, because of what I look like or what I'm wearing, or, things like that. So it's a lot of conversations that are uncomfortable, but they have to be made at a younger age. I think some parents realize, like, they're surprised, like, I'm supposed to talk about that now? It's like, yeah, I mean, they're 9 and 10 and they're dealing with these things, and it's just shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, the issues that kids deal with now are nowhere near like what we have. I mean, some of the same issues are the same, but
Right.
a lot of them are different now. There's a lot of different dynamics, and I think kids, they know more.
There's so much more exposure.
Yeah.
Well,
to
the technology has
Right.
made
Yeah.
them exposed. I think about when we grew up. It's like if I had that type of technology,
I'm
you know,
glad I
I don't know.
That would have been
Lord have
awful.
mercy.
That would have been awful. So,
Yeah.
you have to be very aware of your behavior and, things around
Everybody's watching and listening.
you. Everybody's
Yes.
watching. I mean, we've come with recordings and pictures you would not believe. And, having those hard conversations with parents, it's embarrassing. But I like that my job is to help. I'm really trying to advocate for the parent because parents really they are trying. They want to do right by their kid. They just don't know what's going on, like the real culture of what's going on. So just really educating them about that. But there are parents that have been bullies, like generations of people who just we're not very nice. So when you're at home and you're seeing those things and you come to school, it's okay. I mean, we're adults. Think about your own culture at work and things like that. Bullying type of adults, and you think,
Right.
I bet they were bullying someone in high school, or maybe they got bullied in high school and they want to
Right.
bully someone now.
Right.
So it's really educating them as well.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that, what was and my parents didn't give me this advice, but what was the advice that parents gave if somebody hit you at school? You
hit
go
'em
back
back.
to school and you show him whose boss hit him back.
Yeah.
So
That's my mama said, knock them out.
Yeah,
my parents
Mama
didn't
said
say
knock them out.
I'm not advocating that now. I'm just saying what happened. I'm just being real. All right.
Right, that can get you shot now.
Yes,
Right,
they can. Yes,
and put in jail.
and put in jail.
Yes.
And on social
severe
media.
consequences can
Yeah.
happen from that. And it's sad because kids feel like they're backed into a wall, and then they want to prove I'm not soft, or I'm not a snitch. I'm not gonna just tell, and that I can't stand.
Can you
that.
guys talk about that for a second? That whole snitching mentality, because that's huge in dealing with it. Because a kid can deal with the issues internally, like suffering silently, because they don't want to be seen as a snitch, even though they know it's wrong.
Right.
But they don't want to. Can you guys?
It
Amy,
all
can you
has
talk?
it all has to do with the environment once again. If they're at a school where they know that it's not tolerated and they have the adults backing them up, they're not going to have a problem letting the adults know. Where it becomes a problem is where kids don't feel like they're supported. And I hear things like, it's just going to make it worse. Nobody's going to really do anything about
Right.
it. They don't want their mom or dad coming up and chewing out the principal. Or getting anybody in trouble, because a lot of times bullying is kind of undercover. It's
Yes.
not something that's hugely obvious to the adults. But I have seen where the adults don't tolerate it and they make that a priority. That, hey, we're not going to do that. You don't see the issue of snitching, and I have seen in places like that, kids actually will hold each other accountable.
Right.
So they'll step up and they'll say, hey, we don't do that here. My 12-year-old daughter was in a public school and was not doing well. She's very different. She's got some mental health concerns, and then just real bad ADHD, so she can be annoying, and she knows this. But she was, and because of that, kind of behind socially a little bit too. So really set her up for and then she's biracial. So really setting her up to have some issues. Well, at her school, the bullying was done very covertly, and she would tell teachers, but everybody was telling, and the teachers were like, you guys stop tattling, just go, and they weren't seeing it.
Oh.
So she started to become somewhat of a bully too, and it was just one of those things where you got to survive. You're going to be bullied, or you be bullied, or you are the bully. And when we switched her to a more conservative, very low ratio, Christian, kind of environment, that for instance, her classroom, it was 12 kids to two teachers.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, pretty
That's
impressive and expensive, I might add.
Right.
That costs money,
Right.
which is why the public schools can't do that.
Right.
They would love to as well, but it costs a lot of money.
Yes.
But what I'm going to say is that at this school, it is not tolerated, and it's very clear. And she came home and was telling me, I can't act that way at this school. The other kids will call me out.
That's awesome.
The principal will call me out. The teachers will call me out. They care a lot about my character. And they keep me accountable.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference. So they will talk about it when they're in an environment where they have that support.
Yeah, I'm blessed to say that we started capturing kids' hearts at our school campus, and it has made a big difference on students holding other students accountable, because I
Right.
think it's more powerful when another student saying, hey, we call it giving them a foul, and saying, hey, that's not right. And you call them straight out. And it's not anything to be disrespectful. It's to
Right.
say, I see something that's not right, and you need to correct it with some type of affirmation. And that has changed a lot in our culture with the way that we don't tolerate bullying, but it helps teachers see who are the ones that are really doing it. Because as a teacher, it is hard. Sometimes you get those students that are constantly tattling, and you're like, what is true and what's not
Right.
true?
Right.
And I came from elementary to intermediate. Elementary, you're hard nosed, don't tattle. Well, intermediate, we're saying no, tattle. Like we're trying to go backwards, and the kids like,
Right.
well, what do we do? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
we're told not to tattle. Now we're supposed to tattle. I'm a snitch now if I do.
Right.
But we're making it more comfortable that when you do say something, some type of action is going to happen. Now the problem is, what does that action look like? Students look for punitive damages. Like,
Right.
I want to see them,
Suffer.
I want to see the principal dragging them by the ear they want to see it, and they don't see it. So then sometimes it gives them that feeling of, I can't say anything because they didn't do anything. And so we have made it a job of ours to say, hey, we may not tell, you may not know what's going on, but we are taking care of it.
Right.
If it's still happening, then you need to let us know, because that's retaliation, and it becomes a bigger deal. So we try to make that happen, but it's definitely hard, when you have more students,
Right.
and, different backgrounds and cultures and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. So
I think the tattling too, if I could just say something about that, we tell our kids, I've done this as a parent, you guys need to work it out. You
Yes.
quit tattling.
Yeah.
But you know what I've learned just in my counseling experience and working with other families and even the principal at the school that my daughter's at, I'm changing the way I do that now, because really the bottom line is kids tattle when they're little because they really don't know what to do.
They don't.
Right.
And they're coming to you with the problem. And so the best thing really to do is to sit with them, as annoying as it is, because they can tattle nonstop, to sit and problem solve with them and help them. Because when you tell kids to go work it out on their own, if a kid doesn't have the skills to do that, that's when you get bullying. That's when you get, well, let me just punch you. Let me just say something hateful. Let me just resort to my emotional response to this and just get what I need, screaming. That's what mine do.
Yes.
Mine will just scream at each other if there's no direction.
Or
and so,
hit.
yeah, so
Right.
it is
Yeah.
worth taking the time when they're young, but if they are coming, really try not to, hey, don't tattle. But you want your kids to talk to you, and that sets the foundation for later, because this is the issue, right? We have kids that don't shut up when they're little, but then when they're teenagers, we can't get them to talk at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's years of, hey, go work that out. Stop tattling. You figure it out. You need to
They go
step
inward.
up. Right, so they do. They
Yeah.
start to go inward, and they start, if they need the help, they're going to find it. And if you're not going to, they'll find it elsewhere.
They sure will.
That's true.
Right, and so you're fostering, every time we need to look at it is we're planting seeds for tomorrow. So if you can foster, it is a lot of work. I'm not perfect at it either, but taking the time to sit down and talk with them and help them process it and help them problem solve, not tell them what to do, but kind of as a teacher, have these conversations with your kids. And it's very tempting for parents, especially when the kids are little, to blow it off and say, oh, that's not a big deal, you wait.
Yeah.
Real problems when you get older.
Yeah.
But to them it is a real
It is a
problem.
real-
And so meeting them where they're at, talking to them, that is going to pay off dividends later when they're teenagers and they come to you and they look at you as the primary resource and not their friends, because my parent listens and they will help me process this through. So just a little side note on the tattling, and especially with all that's going on in our schools and everywhere, people really don't know how to handle conflict.
Right.
It's very obvious.
Adults don't know how to
And it's
handle
probably
conflict.
right, and it's probably because we were raised in a generation that was don't tattle, go figure it out,
Right.
go punch them,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
make them do what you want them to do.
Control.
And control is big, and so now there's just so much more insecurity now with social media and just the state of our world that insecurity is breeding this bully and this I don't know what to do in conflict.
Yeah, that's the reason why I became a counselor. As a teacher, I got a lot of emotional and social issues, and it just became overwhelming. And I'm thinking, I want to work on that. I want to get students to see, okay, it's a way you can solve conflicts. There's
That's right.
there's other things you can do than just be quiet or try to figure it out on your own or whatever. So that's the reason why I became a counselor. Unfortunately, in schools, it's hard to, when you go in the classrooms as counselors and you work on things like that, and then teachers are very focused on academic skills. And so trying to get a program where teachers have the time to
Right.
sit down and have those conversations about, this is how you work things out. I want to listen to you. And teachers are, they are doing, creative things like creating tattle boxes and, stuff like that. But I really wish they had more time to incorporate it in their own classroom besides just me coming into the classroom to help them with that, because it is a big deal. And I think younger, the better. If they can learn it at a younger age, they can continue to carry it with them.
And we say that it takes a village, but
Right.
the one profession that I really feel the worst for are teachers.
teachers.
Because teachers are just given everything.
Yeah.
You need to be a parent to these
Yeah.
kids.
Yep.
You need to educate them. You need to be their counselor.
Their nurse.
And their nurse. They cannot do it all.
Right.
And then they are thrown in, with so many children. So the classroom situation is not ideal.
Right.
And so I have the utmost respect for teachers that are in there day in and day out, that never give up, that work with such limited resources and just try to look at, take one child at a time. They really are the heroes, of our community right now. But I feel like we've overtaxed them. They just,
Absolutely.
it's just impossible for them to do everything that they are being asked to do.
I know a lot of the challenges I had in the classroom, if there were issues of bullying, a lot of it was happening away from me. So it would be at lunch, it would be on the playground at recess.
Unstructured time.
Yeah,
Very
where I'm not around.
Yeah,
When I take
right.
my break, I'm on my break.
Right.
And so then we would get a phone call from a parent about these issues that are happening, and this is the first I've heard of them. Because I'm not sitting there at the table with them or out there playing with. Well, I used to play with the kids, but
Yeah.
but a lot of the challenges came from that. And then sometimes the parents would say, well, how come you haven't dealt with it? Well, I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
So if I haven't heard of the issue, and I always told my parents, if it comes to me, and if I hear of it, I address it, and I address it immediately. But what I was, what encouraged, parents to do is, if there's something happening, to communicate with the teachers as well, to let them know, because once I knew, then again, we're in light of what we just talked about with the snitching and stuff, but if teachers don't know what's happening, then they can't address it.
It's undercover. And
Yes.
I think I get what you're saying. And I get a lot of those conversations as a counselor. Like, they won't even call the teacher. They're like, I want to talk to you and tell you that my student was bullied all year and no one did anything. And it's like, whoa,
year.
what happened? And so it's just giving us the benefit of the doubt. Call us, email us, communicate with us. I think this is going on, because I'm a parent as well, and sometimes we know our kids come home and they can elaborate very much to the point where you're frustrated, you're mad now, you want to go to the school right now because my kid is in tears. They're never in tears, But you got to stop and really assess the situation and call the school and try to get in contact with the teacher or wherever wherever it happened to see what you can do. Because I agree, it happens in unstructured time. It happens on the way home. Like if you're a walker, you go home.
Oh yeah,
or
on the bus. Yeah.
I'm so thankful. Our bus transportation, they handle discipline within their department now because they have cameras and things like that. So sometimes they call us and say, "Hey, we had to handle someone, and we just wanted you to know." You know.
All right. Well, we have a caller. Let's see. Hi, caller. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Who is?
Can you hear me?
Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Lakeisha, and I'm calling from Sacramento, California.
Excellent. What's your question?
I can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. What's your question?
Oh, I was actually going to add to the conversation.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
They were talking about. I'm sorry. I'm listening on my. Oh.
Is there a lag in
Probably
time?
feedback or something.
Are you there?
Yes, it's odd. Let me close my laptop.
Oh yeah.
Technology.
I was like, wait, which one is right?
Right.
So I wanted to call in because Danita actually, we spoke not too long ago, and we were talking about bullying, and I was sharing my story. My son, when he was in second grade, was bullied, and the school actually never told me that he was being bullied, and they knew he was being bullied.
Oh, that's different.
It came up in conversation sometime. It was a couple of weeks after an incident had happened where this little boy spat in my son's face.
Oh no. So sorry.
So, and they were in the same classroom. So I actually had to make them do something about it. And you all are right. They treat it differently these days. I asked if it was possible to sit down with his parents so that, the principal was the mediator and we could get on the same page so that our kids would fare better off, especially because they were in the same classroom, and they don't do that. So I never knew what his parents looked like. I never had a conversation with his parents. The kid came and went on his own.
Oh boy. What? Just kind of adding to that, a lot of times, if it's not done the right way, schools can just deal with it in-house without ever even notifying the parents of something that happened. It could be, little things. It's one thing. There's things that are higher up on the, as far as issues go, and sometimes schools may not communicate. And to your point, just encouraging families to talk with the teachers, to communicate with your child to find out what's going on, and and kind of you know your children, and if they're holding something back, to encourage them to talk about it and let them know that it is a safe place to talk with you. But that's so unfortunate that the school didn't do that. And, unfortunately, schools do it right and schools don't do it right sometimes. And so, just keeping that line of communication open with the teachers and with your child and with the administration is so critical. I'm so sorry that happened to your child.
How did it end?
So after I contacted the superintendent, because the principal was not moving. She was not going to do anything. And so he spoke with her, and what she started having the boys do is, I guess, come into her office and do some kind of activities around getting to know one another and stuff. I'm not even sure exactly what she was doing, but I know that it came to a head for my son. So we all have or have had dreadlocks in our family. So so my son was bullied to a point where he was like, well, if I just cut my hair off, well, then this little boy will leave me alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so unfortunate.
Wow.
And so, and they were in the same classroom. I was like, can you like
At least
switch
move
them
him.
in
Yeah.
different?
Right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. So, so it dissipated over time, I guess, because of whatever she was having them do. But I'm not even clear on what she was having them do. But I've always had open communication with his teachers. I would drop my son off to his classroom line, you know, speak to the teachers, come and pick him up, you know, speak to the teachers. So it was disconcerting to me that no one had told me about that incident. Because I kind of feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, if my son would have done that, he would have been suspended.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
hard. That's hard to hear because I just can't imagine just sitting on that and not doing anything. And you were advocating for your students, so I think that's the best start that we can say. I mean, everyone has their bullying laws. There are things out there that we are supposed to do, but it's the way we interpret them and how we put them in place and procedures. I know with my school district, we do have to notify you about the results of things that happen if we did an investigation. So even if we couldn't get you guys together to mediate, because unfortunately the other party has to kind of agree to that, there still should have been a result sent to you about, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's some actions that we can do. Here's some ideas that we have that can help you. And so I hate that it didn't happen for you. And, you know, that makes me sad because you're right. If something else happened and your, you know, son turned around and hit that student, then we would be in a whole nother situation. And it might not even turn out the same. So I'm sorry that happened, you know, to your son. But I can tell you that that's not, you know, we that's not happening everywhere, hopefully, you know, but, you know, just continue being an advocate and hopefully things will change with your situation. That could be a catalyst to change other people's situation, especially when the superintendent is involved. Maybe that'll help them speed up a process of changing the way they handle those things in that school district.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, I think another thing that you've brought up with this that I think is huge is where we've come from. It used to be that teachers and parents were on the same team,
Right.
and that it was a village.
Right.
And I do feel that now there is a lot of insecurity and fear from the teachers about how parents are going to respond, what's going to happen, or is there going to be a lawsuit? So teachers are not able to be as free as they were before. And, you know, to be honest with you, you're not the example of this, but there are a lot of examples where, you know, the parents are not supportive of the teacher at all. And so any kind of, hey, your child is having an issue with this can turn into a very angry interchange.
Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, what this all goes down to is that we all want kids to do well. None of us want kids to be bullied, and that's the truth. But we need to put our fears, our insecurities aside and really start building those bridges again and really come together. Teachers, parents, students come together. We can all solve the problem if we can come together and really communicate and just go back to the basics. Let's remember the basics.
Yes.
And I think if that could happen, you know, that it would make a profound difference.
Yeah,
The kids are waiting for us adults to take the initiative and the leadership in that.
Yeah.
We want them to get along, but then we're not getting along.
And
Right.
anytime they see that, like a student that is bullying another student, if they see that there's no communication or no team, they find that out. They're like, oh, I can get on my parents' you know, side and you know, try to get them on my side, and then it becomes a huge ordeal. So I do agree. I think that we all need to become a team again,
Right.
so that more communication can happen, and you would have known this happening before you know it got to that point.
Right.
So
Well, thank you for adding to
Right.
the conversation, Lakeisha. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
your
you.
call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Right. This kind of begs the question of what if your child is the bully?
Right.
Because, you know, sometimes we'd have issues in school, and I would contact the parents, and they'd say, "Not my baby." Oh no!
Right.
You see, because at home they don't do
Right.
this.
Or I know that they do that. What do you want me to do?
Right.
Mm.
Oh yeah, both of those happen.
Fix it. What am I supposed to do
I
about it?
can't fix it.
Well, and like I said, I have a daughter that was bullying. And I can tell you, and just in I see a lot of bullies in my office, as a counselor. And these are kids that are angry. These are kids that are insecure. These are kids that are struggling. A lot of times, I hate to say it, but with attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. A lot of kids are impulsive when they have that. But kids are insecure and feel like they have no control. So I always tell people, basically the behavior you see is usually the opposite of what's going on
In
the
their
inside.
side.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you have a bully that is trying to gain control, tell everybody what to do, putting people down. Why? It's not because they're confident and they're super secure. It's because they're very insecure.
Right.
They don't have the confidence. They don't really like who they are, and they don't think that they're good at anything. And they also a lot of times feel like they have no control. They feel like they have no control, and so it's an effort to gain control. And there's many reasons for that. Could be family. We do our best to raise our kids when we do not tolerate bullying. I did not know my daughter was bullying until after. At this new school, now she's like, oh, I can't do that anymore. And she feels really bad now because she said, I was just trying to fit in. And it was that insecurity. I didn't have any control. I tried this, I tried that. I wasn't successful. But when I decided to just be the worst kid, when I decided to just be the kid that bullied everybody, people started to leave me alone. People started to laugh. They started to think I was funny. So it's a survival. We have a lot of kids in school today that are just trying to survive.
And, and it's also a lot of attention-seeking behavior, too. I mean, and it's easy to fall in that trap.
It
mean,
is.
like with social media, I want people to see me. I want my friends to know that I'm good at this, or whatever. So it's not by, I think sometimes it is by, not accident, but you kind of get into becoming a bully by way of trying to get some type of feedback.
Right.
And you're not getting it somewhere, or you're feeling, incompetent, so I agree.
The bully is not the bad kid.
Right.
People think, oh, the bully's the bad kid
So glad
from the
you said
bad
that.
family.
Yeah.
They're
Sometimes
not.
surprisingly.
The bullies are the ones, a lot of the bullies are hurting. The bullies are not the bad kids. The bullies are giving you their pain. That's what they're giving you, and that's how they're relating to you because that's all they have to give. In the Christian faith, one of the things that speaks so strongly to me is we give what we have. So you cannot give somebody life, joy, peace, happiness if you don't have it.
Right.
So the bully doesn't have it. And so it's not, and just like in the Christian faith, I mean, it's, the law, throwing the book at them doesn't really change anybody. That doesn't give them love, joy, peace, and all the good stuff that we want to see in people. What does it is relationship. What does it is meeting somebody where they're at, figuring out what is the issue. You have all this pain. Where's that coming from? How can I build into you love, joy? And it takes somebody that has that to come
Right.
alongside and work that in. So the bully isn't even the enemy. The bully is a symptom of the problem at large that we
Absolutely.
have here.
I
Right.
think I could have become a bully because I was bullied in 7th grade, and 7th and 8th grade was really hard for me because I made a change over to a different school district, but I had a mentor, Miss Valentine. I can say her because I know she's retired now, but she really took me in under her wing and helped me, get my self-confidence up. Like, just get me involved in sports. You're going to run track. It's like, I don't even like track. Okay, I'm going to run track. So, I think mentors, people that can see what's happening and just kind of put their arms around them and say, you know what, I see what's going on with you. Let's
Right.
work on that. I don't want you to go the wrong way, because it's tough to keep your self-confidence, get good grades, make sure you're a good daughter, make sure you're not fighting with your sibling. I mean, that is a hard
Lot of
job
pressure.
Yeah.
and pressure for kids nowadays. And we talked about testing before all this started. I mean, there is a ton of pressure on
Right.
students and anxiety. Anxiety is
Absolutely.
the biggest issue that I deal with on a daily basis with kids and adults.
Yep, me too.
So, if we got to get that pressure down so they can work on themselves and then they can be better people, you know.
What I have so many swirling questions in my head.
We could go to
Amelia,
hour 2,
We
but
really could, because you and I both experienced bullying, and I experienced bullying from middle school until
Ooh.
till junior year, and I finally got it senior year and said, you know what?
Yeah.
Forget you.
Right.
It kind of clicks in your
It
head,
clicked,
like,
'cause I was like, look, I don't have much longer here. And, I love what you said about your mentor got you to get involved in some things. I think that helps a whole lot because if you join a club with like-minded people or a sport or something like that, you gain some friends.
Yeah.
And also, if you figure out that you're good at something, that helps with your self-esteem.
Right.
So just joining into some things and
Well, relationship.
relationship,
That's what's
absolutely.
lacking. And I know
Yeah.
with the social media just explosion, those aren't real relationships.
and it's loneliness
Right.
that's
Right.
happening. You think you got all these friends,
Right.
but you're really lonely. But
No.
we're big on extracurricular. I love that we're
Yeah.
pushing that more because I'm believing the well-rounded child.
Right.
And so you do have to find your niche. Like, what is it that I'm really good at? And
Right.
then surround yourself people who are like-minded.
Right.
Right.
Because my mom, Lord, I love her. I mean, she was a single mother. She worked hard, but she worked a lot. And her thing was just don't have the school call me, and I believe your teacher. That's pretty much what I got.
Yeah.
So I had, my mentor helped me fill in those gaps. And then my mom also said if she saw me down, hey, you're better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a family and you are representing the family.
Right.
So I always felt like I had some type of commitment going on when I went to school. So she really
Right.
instilled that in me to keep going. But it's hard. I mean,
We only have 30 seconds, unfortunately, I know, but I want to get one more question in. To Lakeisha's point, what do you do if you don't feel like the school is doing what needs to be done, is not progressing the issue?
I mean, you have to be an advocate for your child. So she did go to the superintendent. I hate to go over the head a lot of times, but, make sure you put in that information. Email everyone that you can. Go up and be a presence
Right.
at the school and see what you can do. And look at the laws. Look at what the school is doing and also the overall law of everything, and then talk to your student about exactly what's going on so you can be able to have a real idea. Talk to the student and your teacher. But that was a hard one.
That was a hard one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We always want to let you guys know what's going on with Noggin. With Noggin Educational Foundation, we do offer 12 sessions of free tutoring. This is a
Wow.
teacher coming to your home and helping you with whatever subject you are challenged with. See our website, nogginfoundation.org, for more information about that. And we would also love for you to donate to Noggin Educational Foundation. Just $1 a day will provide 75 books, a semester of free tutoring, or summer program supplies. So go to our website, nogginfoundation.org. What's going on with Noggin Education Coaching?
all right. So I know I've been talking about cooking in the kitchen for quite a while now, and I'm pulling out the oven. This week, I'll be launching an on-demand webinar titled Slipping, the 5 Shifts That Every Family Must Make to Avoid an Academic Slip. We're going to address it from the home front, some of the challenges that families go through, and then how to address them, some practical tips that families can apply immediately to help their child from home. If you are interested, just go to info@schooldaysshow.com, and I can send you the link directly. And looking forward to sharing this with the world.
Awesome.
Next week's show, we're going to welcome Miss Valerie Gill. She's also known as the Scholarship Lady, and she'll share with us tips and strategies for attaining money for college.
Money.
Money. But we always like to end our show by saying that we are parenting by grace. We depend on God to give us the wisdom and the strength that we need to raise our kids into flourishing adults. And if you'd like to know more about that, please email me at info@schooldayshow.com. Have a great week.